A few weeks ago, we had the Super Bowl, and for those of you here, you know how much I knew about the Super Bowl. I was glad that I didn't actually say what Manning I thought it was, because I thought it was Patrick Manning. I found out there is no Patrick Manning, but it does start with a P, so you got to give me something there. And I knew so little about football that some people actually came up to me and they thought I was faking it. They thought I was actually pretending to be more ignorant than I am. But trust me, no, that ignorant comes perfectly natural. The ignorance comes perfectly natural to me. But I will say this, to those sports fans who thought I really can't have a pastor that doesn't know anything about sports. Well, today you're in luck, because I do know a little bit about basketball. Now, not a lot, but I watched an entire season, every game pretty much, of one team in basketball in the NBA. It was the Detroit Pistons, because they're the best team ever, right? All you guys from Michigan? Anybody? Okay, no? Okay. Not the right group for that, I guess. But what happened was my brother Robert got me into it, and so you can blame him. He said that you got to watch it because it's really fun players. Like, there's one guy who's got like these really long arms. He looks like Stretch Armstrong. And it's just really fun to watch him play. And then there's the other guy who's like this he's not that big for a center, but he plays like he should be a volleyball player because he just spikes everything. You know, he goes up and blocks and just spikes and everything. That was Ben Wallace, by the way, for those of you who know basketball. And he said, I really think we're going to win it this year. Nobody thought we were going to win it. But Robert thought we were going to win it, and sure enough, we won. We won that year out of nowhere, and we became this really established team. And so I started watching, and I really enjoyed the games, and I enjoyed all these different players, and there was one player that I loved more than any other player. His name was Lindsey Hunter. Now, if you know the name Lindsey Hunter, and you don't have to lie, but if you know it, go ahead and lift up your hand. Okay? 2 hands. That's right. Nobody knows who Lindsey Hunter is. Lindsey Hunter was a player for a long, long time, and he was a veteran already when he was playing for the Pistons. He did not score a lot of points. He didn't get a lot of assists. He played off the bench, and he got a fair amount of steals, basically no rebounds. And I think he was the most essential player when he was on the court. Now, sometimes stats don't tell the whole story, because if you actually watch him play, you'll see that not only does he have this great court awareness and he knows where to put himself to help his team on offense, but way more important, and he was an incredible defender, he knew how to defend, and he would defend for the whole team. He was good on man, but he'd also zone defense. He had it down. In fact, there was one game that Tayshaun Prince, that was the Stretch Armstrong man, versus LeBron James. Probably know LeBron James. Everybody like LeBron James? Okay. Tayshaun, after the game, got all this credit for doing a good job limiting LeBron James' offense to only 20 points or so. And that shows you what kind of player LeBron James is. It's like a victory. They limited only to 20 points. But if you actually watch the game, not one announcer mentioned this when they were on ESPN, but LeBron never scored that game when Lindsey Hunter was on the court. Every single point he got was when Lindsey Hunter was on the bench. But he never scored, just when Lindsey was on the court. That's how good Lindsey was at disrupting their offense on his team. And until you watch that game, you don't really miss it. And that's when I realized those sports analysts don't actually watch the games. They just watch the highlights, and then they talk about it. Yeah, I saw this really nice play. Obviously, that player must have done good that game. All right, they don't actually do, and we do that all the time. If you don't like sports, we do that with novels, too. Like 1984. Everyone knows what 1984 is? I'm not going to ask you if you read it, because I don't want to lead you into temptation about lying, because it is the most lied about book that people have said that they read, and they have never read it. I think only the Bible, is above that people say that they've read the Bible. No, you've not read the Bible. Come on. Some of you have, and I'm grateful for you. But, people say, oh, yeah, I've read it, because they think I basically know what's in it. Oh, yeah, in 1984, Big Brother's watching. I get it. Yeah, I've watched it. Or I've read it, whatever. But they haven't. And if you actually read the book, there's so much in there that you miss out on. It's not about Big Brother, and I'm not going to get into what it is about. It's about really mind control, but I'm not going to really get into that. But the point is that we miss out on so much when we just look at the cliff notes in life. Sometimes there are people that are doing so many things that will never even be noticed because of their position. Their position in life, behind-the-scenes worker, someone who just helps out the team, but isn't in it for themselves or the glory, and so people sometimes don't even notice. And you can miss out on so many things in life when you're really just looking for the quick fix answer. We are a society that loves quick fix answers. I mean, if you can't boil it down to a tweet, right? I don't have the patience to listen. What is it, 150 characters? I hate Twitter. What? 140. Okay, 140 characters. She knows. By the way, just a question. How many people, this is just a little trivia, how many people over 50 or whatever, just a curiosity, over 50 knew that it was 140 characters? Okay, well, hey, wow. I didn't, so you guys beat me. You know more about my generation than I do. But I hate Twitter because I have the hardest time putting something in just 150 characters, or 140. That's the problem. I always try to use 150, and then I get stuck. I'd have to go back and try, how can I use bad grammar to still express my point? Because it's not a simple point. And people do this in the church all the time. They simplify things to try to make it make sense to people on like one level, right? And then you get sometimes these churches that are just way out there, and they're doing things sometimes that are so un-Christian. If anybody seen the church that goes around waving signs saying God hates some group of people, that's despicable. It's nothing like what Jesus said, but they really want to narrow it down and make a simple message that fits in 3 words, right? God hates is not my choice, by the way, if I had to pick 3 words to describe anything about God. But this is what we're doing. And then there's other churches, so those are the God hates people church, and God judges, and God hates you and judges you and looks down on you and is a little ant, and he's got a magnifying glass, and he tries to make you burn, and you got to run away from him. Okay, and then there's other people that are like the opposite, like, oh, no, it's all cool, it's all good, anything you do is great, and, we love you no matter what. And a lot of people think that I'm in that boat. But the reality is, I'll tell you this, we wouldn't do Road to Recovery Wednesdays at 6 p.m. right here in the cafe, if we thought that anything you do is fine. Because we recognize that there's some things in our lives that will hurt us and the people around us. There are things that are really unhealthy that a loving person would not just sit by and watch someone do. So we have a meeting talking about getting free from our addictions and our habits, and talking about having complete freedom and health in our life. And by the way, if you haven't been there, I don't know why, but if you haven't been there yet, then you would experience that it's not about tips and tricks to not use whatever your addiction is. It's actually about how to be fully healthy and experience God's love in a new way. That's what it's really about, that Road to Recovery meeting. And I'll tell you this, if you don't think you're addicted to something or have a bad habit that you really don't want to kick, go ahead and come and teach us how. But I think everyone could use going through those 12 steps to understand how to give God control of their life and experience new freedom in their life. But we want to make it so simple, and we want to put everyone in the same box. You ever notice that too? Like, what? Just tell me what works. Give me the phrase. The disciples did this with Jesus. It's not new. They said, what should I pray? Just give me the words. And Jesus gave us great words. We prayed at the end of every service. But if that's your entire prayer life, it's not very healthy. You got more words to use. You got to express what's in your heart and what's true for where you're at. There's a lot that depends on where we're at in our lives. A lot that depends on what we're ready to hear and how we are at that moment. We as human beings, we're not machines. We don't grow like this. Wouldn't it be great if we just grow like perfectly linear, and we go like this. This is how we grow. I mean, teenagers especially, they are up and down. I mean, by minute, it's like, oh, I hate that group. They're actually pretty good, though. I mean, it's just, I had a friend, she was in high school at the time, and I have a friend, I was making fun of her because she's staying with me. She's from Michigan. We've been friends forever. But she saw these sandals in the store, and her first thought was, those are the ugliest sandals that I've ever seen in my life. And then about half an hour later, she walked out with them, and because she bought them and wore them everywhere. And I said, what happened? And she said, well, they grew on me. And I'm like, yeah, that's because they're a fungus. They look like they're alive. We go up and down, and we do all these different things. And one thing I notice is sometimes people are so ashamed of themselves when they're going on the way down, or when they look in the back and they see, I used to be here and now I'm here. And sometimes watch, because there's a lie that can trick you in staying there. Because you're like, I should have known better. I should have known that I shouldn't have fallen down here. And so now I must be just trash, and I must be just junk. And then you don't start walking up the hill. But here's the thing. If you knew better, if you've been up before and now you're down, you know what else I know about you? You know how to get back up. You have just as much experience maybe falling down, but you have one more experience of standing up again and continuing to go forward. Now, there's some people in life that just understand some things. Some things are really easy for those people. My wife is one of these people. And my wife, learned to do the drums. She learned to drum in about 5 seconds. And the person told her, this is true. I watched it happen. The person told her, he said, you hit this one with like one every 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then hit this one every 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your feet, you hit on the 2 and the 4. And it was about, this is where I break down. This is where I would continue this illustration if there was any capability of me doing it once. But I really can't. 1, 2, 3. I can't. I'm not exaggerating. This is not me playing ignorant. I cannot. It's not going to happen. And I sat there like 30 minutes afterwards, like, how did she do that? And I'm like just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I do it really slow. And I just, 1, 2, 3, my foot went, it wouldn't listen. I couldn't do it. And she just magically got it. There's people like that, but all of us do take time. Some of us take more than others. I'm one of those people. When I first learned to snowboard, I was really happy because someone told me ahead of time, just don't give up. And there was this one youth kid, and she was with me, and she just said, just keep getting up, it's okay, keep getting up. I'll tell you, it is not an exaggeration that I rode that hill all the way down my butt. Because it was good. I had good quad strength at the time, because that was all that happened. I just went up, bam. And then she's like, that's okay, get up, bam. That's okay, get up, bam. And the only time I slid actually downhill was when I was on my butt, right? So that was how I got down the first way. And then at the end of it, I was about to say, well, I guess I'm never going to learn how to snowboard. And she's like, okay, time to go back up again. I was so glad that she was there because she was so encouraging and positive. And you just know, oh, it's okay, go ahead and get up. It's all right, go ahead and get up. Oh, yeah, it happens to everybody the first time. By the way, that was a lie. But I was really happy for that lie. There was another youth kid, never snowboarded before. He was like passing me, doing circles around me with a snowboard on his way down. He's like, this is great, right, Richard? And I'm like, yeah. It's wonderful. I love it. Yeah. But, by the end of the trip, I was on it. And I was doing it. And I was, I still wasn't the greatest snowboarder. You're not going to see me with Shaun White. Shaun White, you're not going to see me with him. But I could go down the mountain without falling. I could get all the way down. Now, we're not talking about black diamonds or whatever, but, simple hills, simple mountains, I could get down because I kept getting back up again. And my experience of snowboarding will teach me really good how to stand up when I've fallen down. And I've thought about this a lot, and I've thought, I would rather be the kind of guy who falls a lot. Because there's something that's built with being the kind of guy that learns slow, that can't figure out things for a long time, that they gain an experience that someone who gets it the first time never has. If that's what you have, that's great. I mean, there's strengths and great, that I'm so glad that we're all not alike. But if you're the kind of person that it takes you a long time to get something, you build so much character, and you know how to persevere. Because you might be a faller, but you're also someone that stands back up. You might be someone that messes up and fails and makes mistakes and gets things wrong so often, but you're also really good at dusting yourself off and trying again. You can dust yourself off and try again. There's a pastor, his name is Jim Putman. He was a wrestling coach. And so when he became a pastor, he just applied a lot of the wrestling strategies. And one of the things that he'd say is you don't expect the same thing out of a beginning wrestler as you do out of someone who's advanced. Novel idea, I know. If you're just starting to play piano and you can't play Bach or Beethoven or anything like that, that's okay. If you've played for 20 years and you can't do chopsticks, you might be doing something wrong. There may be a problem with your learning technique. You know, I remember I was learning guitar, and I was learning how to play guitar, and I loved how my guitar instructor never asked me if I practice. You know why she never had to ask me if I practice? Anybody know? She checked my fingers. If my fingers were hard, she knew I'd press them against the strings. But if my fingers were soft, she knew it didn't matter. If I said, oh, yeah, I practice a lot. Really? Your fingers feel like a baby's bottom. and so I couldn't lie to her. Because I might not be great at guitar, I might be slow at learning, but there's no way that my fingers aren't going to get hard if I'm pressing them down over and over and over. And eventually, I'm going to learn how to play. Now, I'm not great at playing guitar now. And I'm not great at singing. And we have my brother up here, Robert. He's playing and he's singing, and he's way better than I am. And so right now, this church is missing out on my gifts. But they're not missing it much. They have that for Robert, and that's great. And one of the things I love about Robert is Robert's very gifted and very talented at what he does well. And what he doesn't do well, he's so honest about it. He's like, oh yeah, I'm bad at that. I stink at that and everything. It's not because he has low self-esteem. He's really confident with who he is. And here's the other thing that Robert has, and it was instilled by our dad. He has this idea of it doesn't matter if the team plays well. It doesn't matter if I have to, and he will always say this. He said the best musician is not the one who can do the best scale or play the best piece. It's the one who has the gift to listen and hear and respond to the rest of the musicians. That they're building up the team instead of focusing on their own part. And I think he's right about that. This is why I'm also not on the worship team, because I have to pay such attention to try to go up and down at the right time that I'm not listening to anybody. I have no idea what's going on. We could be playing a different song, and I'd be halfway through it, and they'd be like, wait a second. This isn't Saving Grace. This is Wake. Anyway, but we all have different parts to play, and different ways to grow if we have that team mentality that let's make a difference in the lives of others. And one of the things I love about Jim Putman, he said, is that in the stage of development, he said, first we're babies. Now, babies, you don't punish for crying because they couldn't understand anyway. There's babies, and then there's adolescents. Adolescents are still finding themselves. They're figuring out who they are. And in this adolescent stage, they sometimes have really crazy ideas and have to have really crazy questions. One of the things that I think we do really bad in Christian culture is we make people feel ashamed for having questions. And we feel like they're stupid for not knowing these things. And then those people leave because they're like, oh, well, apparently this isn't the place to come if I've got questions. And I think that's ridiculous. It's a part of growing. We need to be able to ask these questions. And I hope if you've got big questions, no matter what stage you're at, that you know that this is a place that you can come with those questions and you will not be judged for having to ask those questions. Then there's another stage, it's the young adult stage, and this is where you're just starting to get responsibility and get things on your own, but you still need to go to your parents and ask, like, how did you do this when you happened? All right, and we're there for a long time sometimes. And then the final stage, now what happens after you're a young adult? Anybody? No. And one of the things that I love about what Jim Putman says is there is no room for adults in the body of Christ. I love that. There's no room for adults here. We don't have any room for mature adults. Unfortunately, we can't stay there. A bunch of you are like, yeah, we can be young. You got to be a parent. If you really want to grow at a certain point, you've got to be a parent. You've got to have, not a literal parent, Angela, don't get that excited. You have to be loving someone else, feeding someone else, nourishing someone else, helping someone else grow. Being an actual parent is a wonderful thing. But, you have to be a spiritual parent. And if you're like in Christianity for a long, long time and you feel like you're not really progressing and maturing, my question to you is, who are your spiritual children? Who are you helping? Who are you lifting up? Because if the answer is no one, then that might be a reason why you feel like you're stalled. The other thing that I would say is, babies should not raise other babies, right? And remember, this is not about age. This is not, we're talking literal age here, this is about stages of development. If you've just started coming to church and just started engaging in a conversation with God, or you just started again and it's been a long time since you've done it before, that's okay. God's not expecting that next thing you know, you're going to be taking 10 people to church and be responsible for every single one of them and be out with your neighbor loving them all the time. No, that's okay. You need to be nourished, and we're here to nourish you. But if you've been in this faith for a long time, you feel like you've got a strong relationship with God, and then who are you sharing it with? Who are you loving? Who are you letting your light shine for? Because if you're not, you're going to get stale, you're going to get dim, you're going to get self-centered, and God never wants us that. God wants us to be fruitful and reproduce, to give life to other people. And when I was looking over this verse and I was praying about what God wanted me to say today, I realized that it's all about that gardener in that analogy that Jesus was sharing. And I love what he said. See, there's this tree, and it's been planted for a long time, and it's not seeming to produce any fruit. It's not growing. And the gardener could have said, yeah, that's right, there's something wrong with that plant. Let's cut it off. Let's just, get rid of it. But he didn't. He instead said, one more year. Just give me one more year, and I'll do the work. I'll give them that plant every opportunity to grow. I'll dig around it. I'll put all this manure on it. I will make sure that it's in the best possible position for it to grow, the best opportunity for it to grow. Give it one more year, one more chance. Because I haven't given up on this plant. I haven't given up that it's going to make it. It's going to figure it out. It's going to grow. It's going to be fruitful. It's going to be full of life. I believe in it. I love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful illustration of God's love for us, saying, just as we talked about last week, when Jesus was saying, oh, how I long to gather them like a hen gathers them under their wings. Oh, how I long to let them be loved and to love them and to have this great relationship. But they were unwilling. Does anyone believe that Jesus couldn't have manipulated those people into staying? I think he was clever enough that he could have done it. He seemed pretty open, though, if people wanted to leave. He gave them equal opportunity to stay or leave. It's not my job, by the way, as a pastor, to try to convince anyone of anything. And I say that right off the bat. It's one of the things I have a problem with. I used to, by the way, when I was a 10th grader, I would try to argue with everyone, trying to convince them of everything that I thought was right. And I won every debate. I walked away saying, you're stupid and I hate you. And we walked away and I won. Yeah. But I realized pretty quickly that none of that debating got anywhere. My job is not to convince people. My job is to give them an opportunity. My job is to scoop the poop. One time I shared that sometimes we look at someone else's yard and we see the grass is greener. And we think, oh man, it would be nice to have that yard. And there's only 3 reasons that someone's grass could be greener than ours. 1, it's fake. It's turf. It's artificial. 2, they put a lot more time and chemicals and all these things into making it green. And so you just haven't put the time in. Your fingers are not sore. You haven't been pushing them against the string. They have. They're going to get better. That's just going to happen. Or the 3rd, they've gone through a lot more poop than you have. Because that's how you make grass green. You put a bunch of poop on it. That's what we're talking about. That's what manure, fertilizer, that's poop. Okay? So they might have gone through a lot more poop, and if you want to go through more poop to be, have more perseverance and have more character and to have a greener grass, then yay, you're free to pour poop on yourself. That's fine. But here's my job as a pastor. My job, I see, and not just as a pastor, as a man who's decided that I want to love God and love my neighbors as myself, my job is to scoop the poop. My job is to get right in that poop. And I'm sorry if anyone's squeamish for this illustration, but to be blunt about it, if you want to help someone, you've got to get in the crap. Just as those fingers have to be calloused from pressing them against the string, if you want to help other people and your hands aren't dirty, then you're not doing anything. You've got to reach into their life and know what they're really going through and get your hands in there, in the real junk of what's going on underneath. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to help them. And I wonder, by the way, and this is a little bit of, I will say, me getting angry here, but I wonder why you're really so preoccupied with what's going on with them otherwise. I wonder if it's not because deep down you like judging them and looking down on them and seeing that, oh, they just don't get it. And maybe that's why you're talking about it so much. If your hands are clean, but you're talking about someone else's crap, what's your problem? See, there's 2 things in Christianity that I like to differentiate, and people seem to get confused a lot. Judgment and discernment. We are not called to judge. And one of the things before we started the service, I said, we will not judge people here. And some Christians got nervous. What do you mean? But that's my favorite thing about Christianity. They didn't say that, but it was like, what do you mean we can't judge? No, our job is to judge. We are supposed to judge death from life and things like that. And I'd say, no, we're not. We're supposed to discern. And you know what discernment ends with? Us knowing better how to live our own lives to help others. Discernment doesn't get for me to sentence someone and say that person is just an idiot or that person is just a slut or anything like that. I don't ever get there. Yeah, I said that. I don't ever get there. Yeah, thank you. No, I get to look at someone and discern, can I help them, and if so, how? So if I see someone and they're this angry look at their face, I don't get to judge and say they're a jerk, right? But I can discern, and I might discern I need to go talk to that person because they really need someone to help them because they're angry right now. I might discern I need to stay away from that person because they need space. But those discernments are up to me knowing how best to live my life to my own standard to try to help and love other people. And I'm never going to control or judge any other person on what they do. That's not my job. And you know what? God, it is His job. He has done it a while, and He's pretty good at it. And He's not putting a wanted ad of like, wanted, I'd like to take some time off and have someone else govern the universe for a while. Lori, do you want to do it? This is not what God is asking us for us. But He is giving us an opportunity to help people. He is giving us an opportunity to love people. Last week, I talked about watching someone as they fall down and how painful it is watching someone fall down over and over and watching someone walk away and knowing that they're walking towards something that's going to hurt them in the long run. And how hard it is to just sit there and know that I can't do anything about it. This week, I want to encourage us that there is something we can do about it. Now, we can't force it. It's only opportunity, and that gardener was just giving that opportunity, but this is what we can do. We can call out to God for them, and we can say, give them one more year, God, and I'm going to be with them, and I'm going to walk alongside of them, and I'm going to do everything that I can to be right in the crap with them so that I can help. And then if they, okay, but let me walk with them and see what I can do. Let me walk alongside with them. And if you're in this place in your life where you feel like you're stagnant and you're stuck and you feel like you can't go on, you feel like you're just deep in the crap and no fruit is being produced in your life, you've fallen again and again and you feel like you can't stand up again, I'm here to tell you that you are not alone, that God is with you, and He has surrounded you with a community of people that really want to be there for you. That we want to be there for you, and it helps us. Because as we grow in love and stand together, we both grow strong. So take advantage of the people that are around you, offering you opportunities for love, because it grows you both. It grows us all together. Whatever stage you're at, if you're just an infant and you just only feel like, oh man, I can just come here and I can cry, throw up, and go to the bathroom. That's all the things I can do here. Hey, we're happy to have you here. We want you here. Right? Come and do those things in a place that you know that you are going to be loved and accepted and not judged. And if you're in this place where you just, I don't know what's going on. I have all these different questions and I'm confused and I don't know what's right and what's wrong. That's okay. Come here with your questions. Hey, if we don't know the answer, we'll look together. We'll try to find these answers together. We don't know everything. We don't know most things, but we do know some things. We know that God loves you and He wants you here to be a community, to grow together. And if you're at that young adults phase and you're just starting to grow and starting to figure it out, hey, there are parents around you that would love to help you in this process if you're willing to ask. But they should know their job is not to control or tell you what to do. It's to advise and grow you as you take on more responsibility yourself. And if you're put in that place where you feel like I've been doing this thing for a long time, but I don't seem to be growing, my question is to you, who are you helping? Who are you loving? Who are you in there, in the muck and the mire with, that you're right there with them? Because our hands are not supposed to be clean. This is not a clean religion, by the way. If you want to walk with Jesus, you think you got manicured Jesus hands, you've been looking at the wrong century of photos about Jesus. You're looking at that blonde Jesus with the blue eyes. He's got that, look at his eyes, That's not the Jesus we follow here. We follow the historic one, the carpenter who got his hands dirty, who worked with people, who spent his main part of his time with tax collectors and prostitutes and all these lowlifes. And in fact, he even made some of them his disciples. That's the Jesus we follow. And if you want to be like Jesus, watch out, because your hands won't stay clean. I'm going to leave us with this one last thing. Jesus is there even to the end of the age. And there's only one thing that can hold you back from the very best that He has for you. The road that gets you to life and life abundantly. And that's you. There's this part in The Matrix when Trinity goes to Neo, and he was just like this computer guy, and his life was miserable, and he felt like he had no purpose and meaning in his life. And here he's given this opportunity to this weird, strange thing, and it didn't quite make sense to him. But this opportunity with this woman Trinity who's like, you should follow me and do this stuff. And he's like, yeah, this sounds weird. And it did. And then she says, you have to trust me. And Neo said, why? And she said, because you've been down that road before, you know where it leads, and you don't want to go there. You've been down that road before. You know where it leads, and you don't want to go there. My question is, to you this morning, is between you and God, But if you look at who you want to be and what you want your life to be like in the next 10 years, are you on the road to get you there? Are you on the road to get you there? Or are you on the road that you've already walked down and you know where it ends? That's up to you. But if you need help, I'm here and I'm happy to scoop the poop with you. Let's pray.